My wife secretly siphoned $250, $0 from our joint account into her sister's name, then pretended to be a victim of identity theft. Now she's demanding half of all our property and threatening legal action if I don't settle. But I just discovered she's been cheating with my best friend the whole time. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get like this. But here I am, sitting in my living room, staring at the proof that my wife, Lisa, has been lying to me for years. The craziest part, I found out she's been cheating on me with my best friend, Mark. Yeah, Mark. The guy I trusted more than anyone in this world. And just when I thought I'd seen it all, I uncovered something even more shocking. She siphoned nearly $250,000 from our joint account into her sister's name, then played the victim, claiming identity theft and demanding half of everything. I swear, I've never felt such a punch to the gut. I met Lisa about 10 years ago at a friend's barbecue. She was gorgeous, confident, and full of life. We hit it off immediately and soon. Enough, we were married. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but for the most part I thought we had a solid life. I worked hard as a project manager at a construction firm, and Lisa stayed home with our 2 kids and Jake. Financially, we were comfortable, or so I thought. We had a nice house, cars, and enough savings to plan for the future, or so I believed. Looking back, there were little signs I ignored. Lisa always had a reason for everything. Her sudden shopping sprees, her secretive phone calls, her disappearing acts. I chalked it up to her being independent, maybe a little stressed. But in the last 6 months, things started to feel off. She became more distant, less interested in sex, and started working late more often. She'd say she was just busy, that her sister needed her for some emergency, or that she was dealing with some fake identity theft issue that she insisted was out of her control. She was bitchy, sharp-tongued even, snapping at me over small things, making me feel like I was the problem. Then I started noticing strange charges on our bank statements. Small at first, 300. Here, $500 there. But then I saw the pattern, large transfers to her sister, Jessica. I asked her about it and she brushed me off, saying Jessica was in a bind and needed help. I didn't think much of it at the time. I trusted Lisa, or at least I wanted to. I never imagined she'd do something so reckless, so outright criminal. One night I decided to check our bank account online just to see if there was anything I'd missed. That's when I saw it. A transfer of $250, $0 to Jessica's account. I froze. My heart started pounding. How could she do this? I immediately called the bank, but they told me the transfer was authorized by Lisa with her sister's consent. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I confronted her the next morning, expecting her to deny everything, but she played the victim, crying, saying she was a victim of a scam, that someone had stolen her identity and drained our account. She insisted she's innocent, that she'd never do something so reckless. But I knew better. It didn't take long for me to find out that Lisa's story was a complete lie. I started digging into her phone, her emails, her texts. That's when I discovered the affair. It was right there in her email exchanges with Mark, flirty messages, plans to meet up, even explicit conversations. I couldn't believe it. My best friend, Mark, the guy I'd known since college, was sleeping with my wife behind my back. All the signs had been there. Her secretive phone calls, her late nights, the way she'd dodge my questions. I just never wanted to see it. When I finally confronted Lisa, her reaction was like something out of a nightmare. She everything at first, then started spinning stories, accusing me of being paranoid, jealous, or insecure. She said I was imagining things, that Mark was just a friend, that I was overreacting. But I had the evidence, screenshots, bank statements, her own emails. I laid it all out. She looked me in the eye and told me I was crazy, that I was ruining our lives, that she loved me but was just lonely and needed comfort. She called me a controlling husband, said I was the reason she sought solace elsewhere. I felt numb. My stomach was twisted in knots. I wanted to scream, too. Hit something, but all I could do was stare at her, trying to process how everything I believed in was a lie. I was furious, heartbroken, betrayed. I thought about the money, the trust we'd built, the family we'd tried so hard to keep together. And I realized that everything was crumbling right in front of me. The emotional has been relentless since then. One moment I'm furious, planning how to tear her apart with words, how to confront Mark, how to take back what's mine. The next I feel this crushing sadness, wondering if I ever really knew her at all. I've pored over the evidence trying to find some way to make sense of it all. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? And worst of all, how do I move forward from this? I'm lost, confused, and hurt beyond words. After I collected all the evidence, I knew I had to act fast. The betrayal cut so deep I couldn't just sit around and do nothing. My mind kept circling back to the money, how she siphoned off $250, $0 like it was nothing, then played the victim to cover her tracks. That amount of cash isn't just a mistake or a scam, it's a calculated move, and it told me she was willing to burn everything down just to keep her lies hidden. The fact that she blamed some fake identity theft made me furious. She was the one who planned this, who secretly transferred the money, and now she was crying wolf, pretending to be innocent. I started digging into her phone again, more carefully this time. I needed proof, something airtight. I sifted through her messages, her emails, her social media, anything that could expose her. That's when I found the emails between her and Mark, the explicit ones, the plans to meet up, the flirtatious messages. It was sickening. I couldn't believe I'd been sharing my life with someone who was screwing my best friend all this time. The worst part, she told me she was working late, going out with her sister, or just needing me time. Meanwhile, she was with Mark, having sex, probably dozens of times. I could feel my stomach turn just thinking about it. I decided I had to confront her again. I sat her down one evening after the kids went to bed. I was calm, but inside I was boiling. I laid everything out: the bank transfer, the emails, the late nights, her secret phone calls. Her face twisted into a bitchy sneer. She looked at me like I was crazy, denying everything again, saying I was paranoid, that I was accusing her without proof. I told her I had everything, that I knew she was cheating, that she was stealing from us, and that I wasn't going to let her get away with it. That's when she started crying, fake tears streaming down her face, claiming she was the victim, that Mark was just a friend, that she loved me, and that I was ruining her life. But I wasn't buying it. I saw through her act. I told her I knew about the affair, about her lying, about the money she stole. Her eyes flickered, and for a moment I thought she'd break down. Instead, she got even bitchier, yelling at me, calling me controlling, accusing me of being jealous and insecure. She said I was just paranoid, that I was imagining things, that Mark was just a good friend, and that I was the one ruining everything. I couldn't believe her. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she betray me like this with my best friend? The emotional toll hit me hard. I felt rage, heartbreak, and a deep sense of betrayal all at once. I kept replaying everything: the good times, the family vacations, the nights I thought she was just stressed or tired. All that was gone now, replaced by this terrible truth. I felt like I was in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I was angry at her, angry at Mark, angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. I wondered how long she'd been cheating, how long she'd been stealing from us, and why she thought she could get away with it. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just learned. I realized I had to decide what to do next. I could try to save this marriage, but honestly the trust was shattered beyond repair. Or I could walk away, take what's left, and start over. Part of me still loved her, but another part knew I'd never forget this betrayal. I felt betrayed, furious, and empty all at once. How could she do this? How could she lie and cheat and steal from me? I kept asking myself those questions, but I didn't have any answers yet. All I knew was that my life had changed forever, and I had to figure out how to pick up the pieces. The next few days were a blur of planning and trying to keep my emotions in check. I couldn't just blow up everything without thinking it through. I knew I needed to get more concrete evidence, especially about the affair and the money. I started consulting a lawyer secretly, trying to understand my options. The more I dug into our bank statements, the angrier I got. Lisa had transferred almost all of that $250, $0 into her sister Jessica's account, claiming it was for emergencies. Yeah, emergencies that she never told me about. Jessica, of course, played innocent, saying she had no idea how Lisa got her to do it. But I didn't buy that. Jessica was just as involved, probably knew exactly what was going on. I also hired a private investigator. I needed to know exactly how deep this rabbit hole went. The Pie's reports confirmed what I suspected: Lisa and Mark had been sneaking around for at least a year. They'd meet up late at night, sometimes at hotels, sometimes at her sister's place. I saw photos, her with Mark, kissing, holding hands, even more explicit stuff. It was like a punch to the gut every time I looked at the evidence. That's when I realized I had to do something about this, not just for my own sanity but to protect what's left of my dignity. Meanwhile, Lisa kept up her act. She was still playing the victim, crying about how she's been through so much and she didn't know how to tell me. She insisted Mark was just a friend, that she was confused, and that I was overreacting. She even had the nerve to say I was controlling, that I didn't trust her, that I was ruining our marriage. That was the moment I snapped. I told her I knew the truth, that I had proof of everything, and that I wasn't going to let her walk all over me anymore. Her reaction was classic Lisa: bitchy, dismissive, and defiant. She told me I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, and that I was pushing her away. She said she loved me, but she needed space to figure things out. That phrase, space, made me furious. It was a way to buy time, to pretend she wasn't caught, but I could see through it. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone selfish, manipulative, and willing to lie her way out of everything. I decided to confront Mark directly. I found out where he worked and I went there unannounced. I wanted to see his face, to tell him what I knew. I was furious, but I kept my cool. I told him I had all the evidence, that I knew about their affair, and that if he ever came near my family again, I'd make sure he paid. His face went pale when I handed him the printed screenshots of their messages. That was the moment I realized I'd been played for a fool. Mark, my best friend, had been screwing my wife behind my back for months, maybe longer. And now he was staring at me like I was some crazy ex-husband. I felt sick. The emotional toll was heavy. I was angry at Mark, furious at Lisa, and most of all, devastated that the woman I loved could betray me so completely. I thought about the money, the lies, the sex, and wondered if I'd ever really known her at all. I trusted her with my heart, my life, my future, and she'd been sneaking around, stealing from us, and sleeping with my best friend. I couldn't believe it was real. It felt like my whole world was collapsing. That night, I sat alone in the dark again, trying to process everything. I knew I had to decide whether to fight for this marriage or walk away. Every fiber of my being told me to get out, to start over somewhere else. But part of me still wanted to believe in some miracle, some way to fix this mess. Deep down, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The trust was gone. The betrayal was too deep. Still, I wondered if there was any hope left, or if I was just fooling myself. The one thing I knew for sure: nothing would ever be the same again. Over the next few days, I found myself walking around like a ghost, trying to piece together what I should do next. The evidence was clear. Lisa had lied, cheated, and stolen from us, and Mark had been right there in the middle of it all. I kept replaying the moments, the conversations, the stolen nights, and the worst part: I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. But now, that love was tainted with so much anger and betrayal, I didn't recognize myself anymore. I decided I needed to confront her one last time, but this time I wasn't going to hold back. I told her I knew everything: about the money, about Mark, about her lies. I wanted her to face it all, to see that I wasn't going to be played anymore. She looked at me with her typical bitchy smirk, trying to act innocent, like I was some crazy guy accusing her of everything. But I had all the proof: her emails, the bank transfers, the photos, everything. I pushed the papers across the table and told her to look at them. Her reaction was instant. She snapped, yelled at me, called me paranoid, said I was just jealous of Mark. She claimed I was trying to control her, that I was insecure, that I didn't trust her. It was all a big act. I could see her eyes flickering with anger and frustration. She told me she was sick of me accusing her of things she didn't do, sick of me doubting her. She said I was pushing her away, that she was only trying to keep the family together. Her words were venomous, but I just sat there, calm but seething inside. Then she threw a curveball. She threatened legal action if I didn't give her what she wanted. Said she'd sue me for half of everything, including the house, the savings, the cars. She claimed she was entitled to her fair share, that she'd been working so hard to keep the family afloat. Her tone was bitchy, demanding, like she was already planning her victory. I knew she was bluffing, but I also knew she was desperate. Her lies were unraveling fast, and she was trying to save herself with threats. That's when I realized I had to act decisively. I called my lawyer again, told him everything, and started preparing for a divorce. I wasn't going to let her take me down with her. I decided to fight for full custody of the kids, for the house, and for every penny she tried to steal. I knew she'd try to spin it, make herself look like the victim, but I had enough proof to expose her lies. I wanted her to pay for what she'd done, especially to Mark. He was the one who'd betrayed me first, and now she was dragging me through the dirt with her schemes. The emotional was relentless. I felt rage, sadness, disgust, and a strange sense of relief. Relief that I finally knew the truth, that I could stop pretending everything was okay. But also a deep ache, knowing I'd lost the woman I thought I married, the family I tried to build. I kept asking myself how I let it get this far, how I missed all the signs, how I trusted her when she was clearly hiding something. It hurt so much to realize that the person I loved was capable of such cruelty. I started to think about the future. Maybe it's better to walk away, to rebuild somewhere new, to find someone who actually values honesty and respect. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. Scared of starting over, of being alone, of what the kids will think, but deep down, I know I can't stay with someone who's lied and cheated her way out of our marriage. I have to protect myself, my dignity, my sanity. The betrayal has left scars, but I'm determined to heal, even if it takes time. I'm done with the lies, done with the betrayal. It's time to take control of my life again. The legal process moved quickly once I handed over all the evidence to my lawyer. I wanted this over with, not just for me but for my kids. Lisa's threats of legal action and her demand for half the property only confirmed what I already knew. She was desperate and willing to do anything to save herself. I filed for divorce, sought full custody of Jake, and made it clear I intended to fight her for every penny she tried to steal. I also contacted the bank and the authorities about the money she siphoned off, knowing that the law might finally catch up with her. In the meantime, Lisa's attitude didn't improve. If anything, she got worse. She started throwing tantrums, accusing me of ruining her life, and claiming I was the one who'd betrayed her first. She'd scream at the kids, call me names, and try to manipulate everyone around her. Her sister Jessica, who initially played innocent, started to back her up, claiming I was a bad husband, that Lisa was just stressed and misunderstood. But I could see through all that. Jessica knew exactly what Lisa had done, and she was just as guilty for helping her transfer that money. The divorce hearings were intense. Lisa showed up with her bitchy attitude, trying to twist everything in her favor. She claimed she was innocent, that I was a controlling husband who didn't understand her needs. She painted herself as the victim, crying in court about how she just wanted to be loved, how she needed support, and how I was abusing her emotionally. But I had all the evidence, her emails, the bank records, her own words. I laid it all out, and the judge saw through her act. It was clear she'd been lying and scheming from the start. The judge awarded me full custody of the kids, citing her behavior and her dishonesty. I felt relief. Finally, I had some control back. She was ordered to pay restitution for the stolen money, and the court granted me full control of the house. Lisa was furious, screaming and crying outside the courtroom, calling me a monster and threatening to ruin me. But I didn't care. I knew I'd done everything by the book, and I was finally free from her manipulations. After everything was finalized, I started to rebuild. It wasn't easy. The betrayal weighed heavily on me, and I struggled with feelings of anger, sadness, and loss. I'd lost my wife, my trust, and a big part of my life. But I also gained clarity. I learned that trust is fragile, and that sometimes you only find out how deep the lies run when it's too late. I realized I'd been blind for too long, ignoring the signs, excusing her bitchy attitude, and dismissing the red flags. Now, I was determined to move on, to focus on my kids and myself. Looking back, I see how much I've grown from this experience. I learned to listen to my instincts, to question everything, and to value honesty above all else. I know I'll never forget what happened, but I'm hopeful that I can build a new life, one where I don't have to look over my shoulder, wondering if the person I trust is secretly betraying me. I want my kids to see that even in the worst moments, you can find strength. And if there's one thing I'd tell anyone going through something similar, it's this. Trust your gut, gather your proof, and don't be afraid to fight for what's right. Because in the end, honesty and integrity matter more than any material possession or fleeting love. Now that everything's settled, I've had some time to reflect on what I went through and what I've learned. It's been one of the toughest rides of my life, trusting someone I loved, only to find out she was playing me for a fool, stealing from us and sleeping with my best friend. The betrayal was so deep I thought I might never recover. But I did. Somehow, I found a way to pick up the pieces and move forward. One thing I realized is that people can hide their true nature behind a pretty face and a manipulative smile. Lisa was bitchy, controlling, and dishonest from the start, but I ignored the red flags because I loved her. I convinced myself that she was just stressed or overwhelmed. That was my mistake. I learned to listen to my instincts more carefully, to trust what my gut tells me, especially when something feels off. Because if I hadn't started digging, I might still be blind, living in a lie. The money was a huge wake-up call. It's one thing to be betrayed emotionally, but financial betrayal cuts even deeper because it affects your security, your future, your ability to provide for your kids. I learned that transparency with money is crucial. No secrets, no hidden transfers, no mysterious accounts. I also learned that you have to protect yourself legally. I wish I'd been more vigilant from the start, but better late than never. The hardest part was letting go of the anger, the heartbreak, and the sense of betrayal. I won't lie. I still get angry sometimes, especially when I see her trying to manipulate others or when I remember how she lied right to my face. But I've come to accept that I can't change her. The only thing I can control is how I respond, by staying honest, protecting my kids, and rebuilding my life on a foundation of truth. My advice to anyone in a similar situation is this: never ignore the signs. Trust your instincts, even if it means facing uncomfortable truths. Document everything: texts, emails, bank statements, because you never know when you'll need proof. Don't be afraid to fight for what's right, even if it's messy and painful. And above all, prioritize your children and your own mental health. They're the only true constants in this chaos. Today, I look at my life differently. I'm not perfect, and I have my scars, but I'm stronger for having faced the storm. I'm focusing on my kids, working on myself, and slowly building a future where honesty and integrity matter more than fleeting lies and betrayal. It's a long road, but I know I'll be okay. Because at the end of the day, the truth always comes out, and the only way to survive is to stand firm, face it head on, and never lose sight of what's real.